Have you ever thought that living in America could turn into a nightmare even inside a church? Or that a tiny mistake in your work contract could be enough to send you back home in just 48 hours? In 2025, with President Trump back in the White House, immigration policies have tightened once again. Dozens of U.S. cities are now quietly sharing personal data with federal agencies. And ironically, Filipinos known for being quiet, cooperative, and never causing trouble have become ideal targets for fast-track deportations with no warning and no second chances. In this video, I'll take you on a journey through 10 U.S. cities that are silently pushing Filipinos out not with headlines or handcuffs, but with data, silence, and technicalities. We'll count down from the places that seem safe to the one city where even a simple typo could force you to say goodbye to everything. If you're living in the U.S. or have family working here, don't skip this video. And if what you hear feels important, hit like, drop the name of your city in the comments, and subscribe to Bizarre World Adventures because what you share today could help someone else avoid a mistake they never saw coming. Number 10, Houston, Texas. Houston was once one of the most immigrant-friendly cities in America. Filipinos found stable jobs here in warehouses, private clinics, small health centers, and care chains. Rent was reasonable, and with a strong presence of Vietnamese, Latino, and Asian communities, it felt safe and easy to blend in. But that sense of peace is slowly fading, not because of any loudly announced new law, but because of quiet changes in how Houston collaborates with the federal agency ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Starting in 2024, the city expanded its data-sharing program, linking community health centers, local hospitals, and immigration authorities. Any piece of information, medical records, declared addresses, phone numbers, even documents used to apply for food assistance could now become a lead in opening an investigation. Rowena, a Filipina who worked as a caregiver in a hospital and had lived in Houston for over 7 years, was flagged by ICE after visiting a community clinic for back pain. She had no idea that the temporary address she listed matched someone under investigation. 3 days later, at 6 a.m., ICE knocked on her apartment door. She didn't resist. They didn't raise their voices. But within 15 minutes, she was gone, leaving behind a half-eaten breakfast and an unfilled patient duty schedule. What makes Houston so alarming is not the number of public deportations, it's the silent method being used. No sirens, no cameras, no warning. They choose people who are least likely to resist, rarely have legal support, and are often the most vulnerable, like Filipinos. In Houston, just living quietly isn't enough. One tiny mistake in your information, a problematic roommate, or even a job search online could make you a target. And when ICE knocks, everything can change in a matter of minutes. If you're living in Houston or have ever felt anxious about your documents, share your story in the comments. Your experience might help someone else avoid a mistake that shouldn't have happened. Number 9, Chicago, Illinois. In Chicago, deportations don't happen on the streets. There are no police raids, no sirens, no announcements. Sometimes it starts with a misdelivered letter, a missed phone call, or worse, no warning at all. The Filipino community here mostly lives in neighborhoods like Albany Park and West Ridge areas, with affordable rent and close-knit support systems. Many came to the U.S. on F-1 student visas. After the pandemic, some couldn't continue their studies because schools closed or tuition became unaffordable, and they couldn't go home due to flight restrictions. Others are in the process of adjusting their status or applying for visa extensions, and they believe they're still legal. What makes Chicago especially dangerous is how personal data is collected. ICE doesn't need to chase people down. They get information from community centers, migrant aid organizations, and even shelter places where Filipinos often turn for help. A small mistake, like a mismatched birth date or ID number between two files, is enough to open an investigation. Paulo, a student from Pampanga who studied biomedical engineering at a small college in Chicago, had his F-1 visa expire in late 2022. His school shut down and he never received renewal instructions. He stayed, working at a printer repair shop to send money home. In early 2025, Paulo went to a community organization to ask for housing help. He gave honest answers, but just 2 weeks later, ICE showed up at his workplace, called his name during lunch break, and asked him to leave the U.S. and Chicago. Silence doesn't mean you're safe. That's exactly what makes Filipinos here such easy targets. They usually don't have lawyers, don't ask too many questions, and don't cause trouble, which makes them the ideal cases for swift, quiet removal. Number 8, New York City. New York has always been a symbol, a busy, vibrant city where people from all over the world chase their dreams. For Filipinos, it was once a place of hope. With large communities in Queens, the Bronx, and Manhattan, you could hear Tagalog in grocery stores, churches, and even on the subway. But in 2025, even a simple community picnic can turn into a final goodbye. Since Trump's return to office, immigration enforcement in New York has reached a new level. ICE no longer relies solely on paper trails or tips. They've started using facial recognition technology combined with data from public events. Places that once felt safe church gatherings, holiday parties, and Filipino community fairs are now tracking grounds. Daniel, a caregiver from Bulacan, applied for family reunification. His application was still under review. One day, he attended a small Filipino festival in Queens. He thought it was just a normal day off. But days later, he was arrested by ICE at a subway station. The facial recognition system had matched his movements with data from public cameras, all because his application lacked one valid copy of his birth certificate, causing a temporary delay. He truly believed everything was still in process. In New York, the issue isn't whether you've done something wrong. It's whether your documents are temporarily incomplete at the exact time the system needs to move fast. And once you're flagged, your every move from home to work to public places can be tracked. Filipinos in New York often work in caregiving, housekeeping, childcare, or as healthcare aides. They don't have time to check their case status every week or enough funds to hire a lawyer for every step. They believe living right is enough. But in New York in 2025, living right isn't always enough. You need to be on time, have the correct documents, and be accurate in every little detail or everything can fall silent before you even realize you're in trouble. Number 7, Dallas, Texas. Dallas was once considered a promised land for many Filipinos. Nursing homes, hospitals, and rehab centers were always on the lookout for dedicated, hardworking staff, and no one fit that description better than those from Bohol, Cebu, or Davao. The pay wasn't great, but it was stable. Everything seemed peaceful until end-of-day shifts started quietly disappearing. In 2025, a large-scale audit of private healthcare facilities across Texas revealed a major issue. Many employment contracts didn't match the visa types of the workers. Some had H-1B work visas, but were assigned jobs unrelated to their approved specialties. Others entered on J-1 internship visas, but were kept on as full-time staff without legal authorization. And some were promised sponsorship by agencies, only to later find out their extension requests were never filed. Annalyn, a nurse from Nueva Ecija, used to work at a home care facility in the suburbs of Dallas. Her contract clearly stated she was a temporary worker, but in reality, she worked 6 days a week, caring for 7 regular patients. When the facility underwent an administrative inspection, her name wasn't on the official employee list. That gave ICE the legal grounds to summon her. She had done nothing wrong but found herself caught in the gray area between being hired and being recognized by the law. In Dallas, the danger doesn't come from those who break the law, it comes from those who thought they were protected. A nursing license is not a visa. A tax ID is not a green card. And a work contract, if not filed with USCIS, can become a double-edged sword. Filipinos here now live cautiously. They still go to work, still care for their patients, still lace up their nurse shoes every morning, but with a heavy heart, wondering if that last shift might truly be their last day here. Number 6, San Francisco, California. San Francisco is famous for its steep hills, the Golden Gate Bridge, and cozy Asian-style cafes tucked into every neighborhood. But beneath all that beauty lies one of the most expensive housing markets in America. Renting a one-bedroom apartment can cost over 135,000 pesos per month, forcing many Filipinos to live in shared spaces, old buildings, or temporary housing. Sharing homes used to be a way to save money and hold on to the American dream. But by 2025 in San Francisco, civil disputes between landlords and tenants have become a new method of quiet eviction. Mylene lived with her sister and two friends in a two-bedroom apartment in the Excelsior district. When the landlord asked them to move out so he could raise the rent, they refused because their lease was still valid. The landlord responded by filing a civil complaint, accusing them of noise disturbances and overcrowding. In that complaint, he listed full names, phone numbers, and even his suspicions about their immigration status, and that document was shared with federal authorities. 2 weeks later, ICE showed up. No one had caused trouble. No one ran. But only one person in the apartment had valid papers. Mylene was told she had 30 days to leave the U.S. San Francisco was once considered an immigrant-friendly city. But the administrative system here is unique. Every complaint from housing support requests to civil disputes is thoroughly documented and linked to federal databases. Filipinos, known for being rule followers who trust in the law, often leave the clearest paper trails. Here, you don't need to break immigration laws to be deported. You just need to appear in the wrong file and the system takes care of the rest. If you're renting a place in the U.S., with friends or family, have you ever thought that a simple landlord dispute could change your future? Share your experiences so we can stay informed and protect one another. Number 5, San Diego, California. San Diego, a beautiful coastal city near the Mexico border, blessed with sunshine year-round and home to a strong, long-standing Filipino community. But in 2025, this former borderland paradise has become one of the hottest zones for deportation, especially for families with mixed immigration statuses. Rosario, originally from Laguna, had lived in San Diego for over 11 years. Her husband held a green card, and her 2 children were U.S. citizens. She had filed for an adjustment of status back in 2019. But in early 2025, she received a notice saying her case had been denied last year due to a missing notarized birth certificate from the Philippines. She had never received any email, and when ICE came to her house, she wasn't allowed to explain. They handed her a document, told her to pack, and gave her 10 days to leave. San Diego isn't just enforcing immigration laws, it's also a testing ground for new border control technologies. Facial recognition, real-time data systems, and more all being trialed here before nationwide rollout. Filipinos, known as one of the most peaceful immigrant groups, have become ideal subjects for a system that operates smoothly with minimal resistance. In San Diego, it's not about right or wrong, it's about being paper complete or not, and a small error from the past can be the reason your family is torn apart forever. Number 4, Los Angeles, California. Los Angeles isn't just the land of Hollywood. For tens of thousands of Filipinos, it was the starting point of the American dream, a place they invested their hopes, hard work, and youth. Here, you'll find turo-turo restaurants on every corner, churches offering Tagalog services every Sunday, and neighbors who come from Ilocos, Pampanga, or Mindanao. The government has ordered immigration courts in Los Angeles to fully process old cases within 6 months. The result? Thousands of asylum applications, green card petitions, and special sponsorship cases are being reopened and denied in a single short hearing. Even worse, many people don't even know their cases are being reviewed until ICE shows up at their workplace or front door. Renato from Bicol had lived in Los Angeles for nearly 14 years. His asylum case had been initially accepted in 2012, but due to court backlogs, it sat in limbo for a decade. He continued to work legally, pay taxes, and send money home every month. But in early 2025, when the backlog cleanup began, his case was reopened and denied for lacking new evidence. He was arrested at work. His manager was shocked. His co-workers cried. But the deportation order had already been signed. In Los Angeles, everything on the surface looks normal. Adults go to work, kids attend school, and communities stay active. But behind that normalcy are closed-door hearings, rapid-fire decisions, and unmarked deportation vans that arrive without warning. Number 3, Phoenix, Arizona. In Filipino culture, churches are more than just places to pray. They're sanctuary spaces where one can find peace amid the chaos of trying to survive in a foreign land. But in 2025, something happened in Phoenix, Arizona, that no one ever thought possible. ICE walked into the church. Phoenix had long been a safe haven for many undocumented Filipino families. Some lived in churches for months, even years, hoping for humanitarian relief or for their sponsorship applications to be processed. Every night they prayed silently, never leaving the church grounds, relying on the kindness of the local parish. But then, everything changed. A new law in Arizona allowed ICE to enter places of worship without a warrant if there was reasonable suspicion of immigration violations. This triggered a wave of sudden arrests, no notice, no time to prepare. Erwin's family, originally from Iloilo, had been promised protection while waiting for deferred deportation due to his son's serious heart condition. They had lived in a Catholic church in Phoenix for nearly a year, always respecting the rules, never stepping outside. But one Sunday morning, just after Mass ended, ICE walked in through the back door, no warrant, no explanation. Erwin was taken in front of a stunned congregation. His son collapsed from fear. Weeks later, the family was torn apart, despite never causing any trouble. Filipinos in Phoenix used to believe that with prayer and patience, everything would work out. But 2025 proved that even a promise made within sacred walls can't stand up to a single line in a new law. And what hurt the most wasn't the separation, it was the feeling of betrayal in the very place they thought they were safest. Number 2, Miami, Florida. Miami, the city of sunshine, turquoise beaches, and one of the busiest tourist destinations in the U.S. every year, thousands of Filipinos work here on cruise ships, resorts, and seaside restaurants. They're hardworking, pushing through 12, 14-hour shifts to send money back home. But in early 2025, pride was replaced by fear, because one small mistake in your paperwork could mean instant deportation. It all started with a massive investigation by the Department of Homeland Security into manpower agencies supplying workers for the cruise line industry. Several agencies were caught using improper documentation, fake contracts, or incorrect visa information. The problem? Many workers had no idea. They thought they had signed legal contracts. But in the system, everyone on those agency lists was suddenly flagged. Noel from Quezon City was a kitchen assistant on a Caribbean cruise ship. He had a B-1 visa meant for short business visits, but his contract listed him as a full-time crew member. When his agency came under investigation, Noel, though completely unaware, was detained along with the rest. No time to appeal, no explanation. He barely had time to send one last message to his wife. Sorry, hindi ko alam na ganito kabilis. In Miami, it's no longer about whether you're legal. It's about whether your name is connected to a flagged system. And most Filipinos here work short-term contracts, often jumping from one agency to another, rarely getting the chance to verify every line in the paperwork they're signing. Number 1, Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States, where decisions that shape the nation are made. But in 2025, it became the testing ground for a new wave of immigration policies. A place where one small change in the system could instantly strip hundreds of Filipinos of their right to stay without warning. Here, the government rolled out advanced screening using artificial intelligence. Old visa files were reevaluated, temporary stays reassessed, and what was legal in 2024 could suddenly be flagged as a violation in 2025. Christy, an ESL teacher from Cebu, had an H-1B visa. She had a valid job contract that ran through 2026. But during the system audit, her school sponsor was flagged for inaccurate job role descriptions. Despite having done nothing wrong, Christy's visa was suspended. She only found out when she was stopped at the airport while traveling for a federal education seminar. Within 48 hours, she was ordered to leave the U.S. in Washington, D.C. The government doesn't need to wait for your visa to expire. They can change the definition of legal and that means anyone can be at risk, just for missing a single update in the law. The city is now a lab, testing behavioral analysis through digital data and verifying education credentials, contracts, and tax records through automated systems. And because Filipinos are often seen as compliant, hardworking, and quiet, they've become the ideal test subjects. Are you sure your visa is still valid under the latest rules? Have you rechecked your documents since the law changed? Don't wait until your name is listed as a test case. Share your story or your questions so the community can speak out and protect one another. So there you have it, 10 American cities, 10 different stories, but one shared fear. From Houston to Washington, D.C., Filipinos are facing a silent wave of deportations. Not because of crimes, but because of paperwork issues, sudden policy shifts, and a system that doesn't speak. If you're living in the US or have loved ones working abroad, we hope this video opened your eyes, raised your awareness, and helped you feel more prepared. If you found this content helpful, hit that like button, comment with your story or question, and don't forget to subscribe to Bizarre World Adventures for more real-life stories of Filipinos around the world. See you in the next video.